Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another video. Today we've got a new series that I'm doing here on the channel, and that is answering hate comments, whatever we want to call this. So, as you know, as many people know out there, if you are somebody who doesn't consider yourself somebody who needs the system, you get a lot of hate. You get basically put in your place. They want you to depend on the system. They want you to support the system. So I'm going to be answering this hate comment here. I guess that's what I would call it. And also answering another comment, which I can't actually find right now. And they basically asked me, how do you feel about being a black man? How do you feel about, are you proud to be a black man? How do you feel about, how do you feel so empowered? All those things. That was a weird way to say that. Wish I could read the comment, but it was either deleted or their profile maybe exploded. I don't know what happened. But anyways, this comment says, "Bro, why are you all over YouTube attacking black women? Why do you hate your own race? Why is it okay for black men to be murdered with a neon live TV?" Okay, and I responded, when did I attack black women and say it's okay for black men to be murdered? When did I say I hate my own race? Parentheses, an illusory concept. And you find me the quote and I'll accept the allegations. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the concept of race, and we're going to be talking about the next thing is the companies that control the media. So for you guys out there that don't know, there are 6 companies that essentially control most of the media. It's shifted around recently just because the valuations of the companies have gotten a lot bigger. Some subscribers have shifted around, but essentially these big media companies control the psyche of not just the United States, but pretty much the world. Okay, so we'll start with the let's start over there. Actually, let's start with the big media companies. So the big media companies, not a lot of people are going to make it through this video. This is one of those ones that's going to get a lot of dislikes and things. So, but we'll make it anyways. All right, I got a lot of dislikable videos. So the big media companies over here, we see guys like Disney over here. They've got 87 million subs, Disney Plus. We see ESPN. Anybody who saw my old video about ESPN, we saw what happened when China told them to not speak out against Hong Kong, Hong Kong. We saw what happened when they tried to stand up for freedom. They basically told their players to shut up and dribble, okay? And we know that, CNN made a big deal about shut up and dribble, but when China told the players to shut up and dribble, they just did it. And they didn't really make a big stink about it, okay? So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? The profit motive is big, okay? CNN over here with AT&T, okay? So Time Warner Media, CNN is a part of Turner, okay? So look at this, $214 billion market cap. I've got the revenues over here, okay? Turner, $6.98 billion of revenue in 2018. Turner over here, $12.57 billion in 2019. And it's only been going up, right? Ever since when Trump was in office, CNN was making money hand over fist, okay? Just running stories about Trump. And what does that tell you? Or what should that tell you, I should say? That tells you that they don't care about the things that they put on their platform. What they care about is getting you to watch longer and longer, getting you to watch more and more. And they promote these ideologies, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video, the Black Lives Matter movements, like all the protests or, peaceful protests, whatever, even though, look, we're not going to get into all that. But they promote these things so that you'll watch them, okay? So they'll promote anything that you'll watch. They're a media company. They're making billions and billions of dollars. Do you think they care about the message that they're sending? It doesn't matter what the message is. Like, for example, they ran stories about Trump all day, like the whole day while he was in office. But now, since people don't want to see that anymore, they're running stories about the protests. They're running stories about police shootings. And it really has people just losing their minds. So we're kind of a little bit off topic of what the original topic was, but people are losing their minds of all quote unquote races. Okay. So what do these companies care about? I'll show you what these companies care about. We'll go into the portfolio here. All right, I've got 78 shares of AT&T within the portfolio, okay, right there. If we take out the calculator, 78 shares, they pay 52 cents a quarter. That's $13.65, $13.65 a month, okay? So do they really care about Black Lives Matter, or do they care about their shareholders? I'll tell you what they care about. All right. They care about the shareholders. So it's more about Black shareholders matter than Black Lives Matter. So let me move over here into, it's the same thing with Fox News. It's the same thing. They just have a different base that they're aggravating. So consuming all this fear, all this entertainment, the longer you watch, the more money they make. That's what they care about. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about any of that. They care about getting you to watch and getting you to go crazy. And I promise you, this is all going to tie together. Okay. So recently we had a story in the news, Ma'Khia Bryant. Okay. And she essentially tried to stab someone. All right. I'm going to roll the clip of what essentially happened on the scene there. So clearly, for anyone who is willing to think and use their brain instead of letting these media companies just manipulate you, manipulate your emotions, play on your emotions, get you to do anything. And then let's take a look at the reactions. Okay, this is what the reaction was before the body cam footage even came out. So that's the reaction there. They're saying, F the police, all that. People of all races are kind of losing their minds over this concept of race. And they're not asking for a shred of evidence. And the thing is, I don't consider myself to be necessarily a conservative or a Republican necessarily, but people of all races are losing their minds out here. And it's crazy to see over this concept of race, which is an illusion. We're going to get into that. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say that people who want to defund the police, people aren't arguing that things don't have collateral damage. So I'm looking this up because I'm not saying that police are perfect. All right. That's not what most rational people would argue, that police are perfect, that they're going to do the right thing every time, that there aren't bad police out there, that there aren't racist police out there. But the question is, are we better as a society with the police, or are we better without the police? And if you go to a lawless nation, like, for example, love the place I'm in right now, but the law and order is just it's not on the same level, right? The infrastructure is not on the same level. People are trying to leave, okay? People don't like it here. There's high poverty and there's a lot of lawlessness. So at the beginning of the pandemic, the reason why I did things like went and I got more ammunition for my weapon, I went and I thought about getting a security camera, is because I knew that lawlessness and poverty was about to go up, and it has as a result of these lockdowns. I mean, just recently, my neighbor's house was broken into, right? And why is that? That's because there's a bad neighborhood near my area, and poverty and lawlessness has been going through the roof during this pandemic. So people are trying to break into my house, okay? So I have to go get a security system. But anyways, the reason why I'm looking this all up is because car crashes, right? Are we better off or worse off as a society because of cars? I would say we're better off, right? But it says right here, 2019, we had 16,988. 2020, 16,650, right? We had a decrease of 2%. But are we better off or worse off because of cars? Obviously, we're better off having cars. And what people want to do is take those police officers and turn them into counselors. Like, what does that situation look like if they send a counselor? Are they going to ask the girl, like, how does it make you feel when you come at somebody with a knife? Why don't you come at me with a knife? No. The police officer needed to have a weapon so that he could handle that situation. So anyways, we're going to move into the concept of race. The concept of race was invented by Blumenbach. All right, and we're going to move into this. This is an anthropology article. And check this out. I'm not going to bore you with all of these details, but this is going to basically answer the original question of how I feel about being a black man. Why am I proud to be who I am, a rational being, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so Contemporary scholars agree that race was a recent invention in that it was essentially a folk idea, not a product of scientific research and discovery. This is not new to anthropologists. Since 1940s, when Ashley Montagu argued against the use of the term race in science, a growing number of scholars and disciplines have declared that the real meaning of race in American society has to do with the social realities quite distinct from physical variations in the human species. I argue that race was institutionalized in the beginning of the 18th century as a worldview, a set of culturally created attitudes and beliefs about the human group differences. All right, some interesting things down here. I want to get through this highlighted portion, and then we're going to get into the rest of the video. So, slavery and the coming of Africans. Race and its ideology about human differences arose out of the context of African slavery, but many peoples throughout history have been enslaved without the imposition of racial ideology. When we look at 17th century colonial America, before enactment of laws legitimizing slavery only for Africans and their descendants after 1660, several facts become clear. Number one, the first people that the English tried to enslave and place on plantations were the Irish, with whom they had hostile relations since the 13th century. Number two, some Englishmen had proposed laws enslaving the poor in England and in the colonies to force them to work indefinitely. Number three, most of the slaves in English plantations in Barbados and in Jamaica were Irish and Indians. Number four, most historians point out that African servants and bonded indentured white servants were treated much the same way. They often joined together, as in the case of Bacon's Rebellion, 1676, to oppose the strict oppressive laws of the colonial government. So what do we see here? We basically see that slavery was more about taking one group, and it was more about power. Okay, so it was more about power originally than it was about race. So without boring you with all the details, you guys can come on pbs.org and read all of this. Essentially what they say is that slavery, it became about race after people started to move towards an egalitarian view of society. So what they had to do is they started measuring people's skulls. They started separating people, not allowing Africans and Englishmen to mate with each other, not allowing them to have the same physical characteristics. So that was the way that they basically said that this race is superior to that race. Moving down here to the bottom, not to bore you guys with all the details, all anthropologists should understand that race has no intrinsic relationship to human biological diversity, that such diversity is a product of primarily evolutionary forces, while race is a social invention. So if race is a social invention, then why do we continue to acknowledge it as a concept? I do acknowledge history, okay? I acknowledge that historically, black people are behind. Got it, all right? But what do we do about it? So as we seek to get rid of this illusion, this social invention, how are we going to do it? Is it best to just treat people equally, right? Let the wrongs of the past be the wrongs of the past? Or is it better that we treat people differently based on their race? Okay, is it better that we tell people that they're too dumb to get an identification card? Which one is better? Which message is more toxic? Telling people that they can or telling people that they can't? You have to answer that question for yourself. I'll see you guys in the next video.